So again, I want to welcome you. Thank you so much for being part of this. We're calling this session Finding Clarity in Chaos. It's actually a part of my regular year-long subscription program that we call the Be Love Community Tools for Conscious Living. I was really guided to share this particular session because of everything we have going on in the United States. I do want to say that I am really very well aware that we have people from outside of the United States that have decided to be our guests here today. Welcome. When we're going to be talking about chaos, although here in the United States, we're thinking about political chaos, social unrest, chaos is chaos. Rather, it is chaos between you and a spouse, you and a business partner, you and your garden. The chaos is always the same. It's coming from inside your mind, and we're going to talk about that today. I did want to make sure, with my glasses on so I can see, that I wanted to make sure that everybody knew. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Diane Hayworth. I'm a heart-centered success coach, a speaker and author, and founder of the Be Love Principles. I am not a mental health professional, nor am I a therapist or anything else that ends in an ist. These opinions are my own. They are from years and years and years of studying spiritual texts, doing my own self-reflection, studying neurobiology, and I am humbly offering them these opinions for you today. So I really hope you get something out of this. I know I've been really super excited about sharing them. Now, the first thing that I want us to do is land here together. And we're going to do real quickly a process called central channel breathing. If you're a member of the Be Love community, I'll actually post a link to a video, not this video, but an additional video on our Facebook page. This is a technique that I learned from a lady named Dr. Sue Morter. She wrote a wonderful book called The Energy Codes. And she has really revolutionized the way people think of the mind-body connection. There's so many wonderful pioneers in this area, and she's really one that I admire greatly. So just to make sure we are in absolutely the right place to absorb this material today, I invite you, unless you're driving, I invite you to shut your eyes and put your feet on the floor and sit comfortably. We're simply going to breathe a few breaths together, and I'm going to explain to you exactly how we're going to do that. I want you to imagine that there is literally about a 2-inch diameter channel that runs from the top of your head, down through the center of your head, your throat, down through the middle of your body, out through the pelvis, into the ground. You can think of it almost like a little PVC pipe. Think of this as a channel where energy goes up and down. What we're going to do is teach you a simple breathing technique to clear that channel, because anytime you need increased clarity, there is something going on in your body. And while we'll learn a little bit later how important it is to recognize and acknowledge your feelings, what I want us to do right now is be fully present to the material. So here's what we're going to do. On an in-breath, I want you to imagine that you are bringing breath in from over top of your head, probably a few inches over top of your head. Bring it into your heart. And then on the exhale, imagine that you are pushing that air down through your pelvic floor, down into the earth. Then we're going to breathe it up from the earth into our heart and exhale out through the top of your head. It'll make sense in a second. So here we go. Eyes shut. Take a nice deep breath in. Imagine it coming in from the heavens, in from the top of your head, into your heart. Exhale and imagine pushing that air down through your torso into Mother Earth. Good. Nice big inhale in from Mother Earth, up to your heart. Exhale out through the top of your head. Let's do that one more time. Breathe in from the top of your head to your heart. Exhale down into the ground. Breathe energy up from the ground into your heart. And exhale out through the top of your head. Good. Now, a lot of times people feel better just from that, feel more clear. So I don't know what that's like for you, but that is a practice that I use a couple times a day. It's just a wonderful way to quickly get present. It's not the only way, but it's certainly one that I really, really enjoy. What I want to do now is give us a group intention and attunement. So again, if you would shut your eyes just real quickly, we're going to intend that our hearts and our minds are open to new truths that flow from the very highest source to and through each one of us. And let's set the intention that we each individually, here now in person or in the future, for people who are looking at this on the replay, we get, absorb, understand, and accept the highest truth for us right now in this moment. Now, with your eyes closed, I want to read to you a very short poem, and I want you to imagine these words are literally flowing over you. This is called Your Love is a Gift, and it is from my mentor, Robert Holden, in his book, Finding Love Everywhere. Just relax. Your love is a gift. It is because the world is so full of suffering that your happiness is a gift. It's because the world is still so full of poverty that your wealth is a gift. It's because the world can be so unfriendly that your smile is a gift. It's because the world is so full of war that your peace of mind is a gift. It is because the world is in such despair that your hope and optimism is a gift. It is because the world is so afraid that your love is a gift. It is because the world is so afraid that your love is a gift. There we go. So as you are opening your eyes, I wanted that to set the tone today for this Finding Clarity in Chaos. One of the things that I wanted to point out at the very top here is that there are multiple realities that are going on at any moment. It is all specific to you and what you pay attention to. So while here in the United States, we are very well aware of the events earlier this month that took place at the Capitol, and we're also aware of the pandemic. We're aware of all kinds of things in our personal life, as well as our communities, our country, and the world. I look at people like my little 3-year-old grandson. He's not aware of any of that, right? That's not his reality. His reality is a stomach full of food, people who love him, and toys to play with. There are people who live off the grid. They are in the wilderness somewhere right now as we speak. They are living from the beauty of the land. They are the ones that I'm talking about that go in contemplation and meditation, perhaps, and prayer often for many of us. They are living in the beauty of the world. That's their reality. So while one of the things that I want to just remind us all about chaos is I don't ever want to pretend something is not occurring. That's not what this is about. But I want to remind people that the emotions that we attach to events, that's what determines for us if something is chaotic or peaceful or righteous or or just or anything like that. This all has to do with our emotions. And that's an important part when we're finding clarity. We want to understand what this mind, body, spirit connection is. And the body is like a barometer. That's one of the ways that we understand what our thoughts are creating. I want to also point out that your emotions are really chemical signatures, right? This all happens in your brain. And again, I'm not a scientist. I've read a lot of this. I've studied a lot of this for years. And this is my perspective. You have chemical signatures that are attached. Think of them as recipes for your emotions. So you know yourself, what it feels like when you are deep in grief, when your chest is constricted, when you don't feel like eating, your stomach's upset, your head is always throbbing. You are in such a deep grief state that the rest of the world doesn't even exist for you, right? It can be the most lonely feeling in the world, even if you have loved ones around you that are helping to support you the best they can through whatever grief you're experiencing. Could be the death of a loved one, could be the death of your business, it could be any kind of loss. So you know what that feels like. You also know what joy feels like, how light that feels, especially in comparison to grief. It's light, it's bouncy, it feels very effervescent to me. That's a different chemical signature. So all of these are just important to remember when we're talking about clarity and the part our body actually plays in helping us understand where we are in chaos and how to get out of a chaotic situation. We're going to give you some specific steps actually today, tools that you can use today to help you not only get clear on what's your best step right now for whatever you're dealing with, but also how to go forward in a way where your actions are more heart-centered. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Some of these things may be familiar to you. If so, I really encourage you to bring a beginner's mind to this information. You're not the same person you were the first time you heard it. I don't care if you heard it 5 minutes ago. You are here now to hear this information, to find your way and have a different perspective, think of it as possibly a shift in perspective on what this whole idea of clarity and chaos means. Okay, so I'm excited about this. When we're talking about understanding the energy of emotions, most of us think of that as being triggered by external events. And certainly that can be. Certainly it's true of me. I'm sure it's true of you many times in your life. I also want to remind you that your inner peace, while you may think it comes from the external, and certainly in cases of extreme weather, when people are in danger because of hurricanes, floods, whatever that is, certainly they will find more peace when the storm has passed. But that peace is a mindset that comes from within, from trusting what's going on, no matter how chaotic it seems on the outside. So one of the things that I want to say about emotions is I'm not somebody that thinks you should ignore emotions or you should pretend you're not sad when you're sad. If you're human and if you're watching this video, you're going to be sad sometimes. You're going to be happy sometimes. You're going to be angry. That's part of the human condition. I personally feel that emotions are there to give us signals, to help us understand how to move forward in love. That's my perspective. And I feel they should be honored. Where I think we have issues as individuals and as communities is when we get stuck day after day, week after week, sometimes year after year, decade after decade, in emotions that do not help us move forward. So one of the things that I wanted to offer you today is just a little idea of the work of Dr. David Hawkins. Now, people who are in the Be Loved community, you remember our last session, I talked to you about, there was a graphic that I gave you, it's in your member section, and it's navigating the spiral of human consciousness. This work is, think of this as the scientific measurement tool that helps give that particular graphic some additional depth and understanding. Dr. Hawkins, who's now passed in the last few years, he was a psychologist, and he was fascinated by how emotions have certain energies with them. And I would invite you to look at his book. It's called Power versus Force. And you can see how he measured this. But one of the things that he did that I find so fascinating is he assigned an energetic number to various emotions. And then he studied that over time, and he decided, or through his research, rather, I should say, he saw patterns. What he saw was that there was energetic signatures, again, that he put numeric value to, for things like shame, blame, anger, resentment, fear, even entitlement. Those kinds of energies, which have a very, very low numeric value, according to his research, what he decided was that when you are stuck in those kinds of energies, you tend to use this part of your brain that keeps you in survival mode. In the example that I just gave you, if somebody is in the middle of a hurricane, they're probably not going to be thinking about the philosophies of Aristotle. They're probably thinking, how can I be safe? Where's my food? Do I have electricity? Right? That's what they're thinking. They also tend, when you're in those lower energies, because it's more survival mode, it is harder for you to think outside of your own and your immediate family survival, right? Rather, that is real or perceived, which is, I think, a really super important point. Many times, some of the things we fear the most are not even there. They're imaginations. They're misconceptions that we have. Now, sometimes they're very real. But I just want you to understand that those lower energies, particularly fear, anger, overwhelm, while they have a lot of energy with them, certainly somebody that is enraged, it looks like they're exerting a lot of energy, but it is a very low quality energy. What Dr. Hawkins discovered was at the level of courage and hope, which he assigned as 200 on his scale. I'm going to show you an example in a minute. That's where the door opened to a shift in perspective. That's when you have access to the part of your brain where you can find the higher problem solving capabilities. It's also where you understand the needs of the collective. It's where you are more apt and capable, put it that way, to see yourself as part of the whole, to see the benefit of unity, to seek cooperation. That's where compassion lives. That's where kindness lives. Now, some people will associate kindness, compassion, love, those sorts of things as being weak. They are not weak. They are not weak. Think yourself about a time when you thought there was an action that you needed to take for someone you loved. Think of how strong that was for you. Think of how determined you are. Love is not weak. Love is not weak. In my mind, when I'm talking about the big love, I'm talking about the intelligent, creative, expansive energy that runs the universe. It's what beats my heart and yours. It's what makes the tides come in and out. It's what creates galaxies. That's not weakness. That's expansive, it's intelligent, and it's creative. So when you're thinking about observing times when you have observed people, maybe in your own family, right, in conflict and chaos, it's quite possible that for whatever reason that felt very justified to them, by the way, at the time, they were stuck in those lower energies. And if you were also stuck in those lower energies, it was very hard, first of all, to be heard because nobody was in the mindset, right, to hear each other. And it was also often very hard to find a compromise until somebody had the hope that this situation, whatever it was, could be solved, that there could be forgiveness, that you could go forward. That's the key. Now, let me show you a visual that I think really is just absolutely magnificent. So look at this. There we go. Can you see that? So I think this is so fantastic, and I appreciate my friend Heather Evans, who actually created this graphic and has allowed me to use it. She does this in her work. Look at these lower energies: entitlement, anger, disappointment, anxiety, fear, grief, regret. Who hasn't been here in the last year, by the way, right? Who hasn't been here in the last year? I know I have. Look at these energies. If you are in a depressive state, look at this, level 50. If you are in a depressive state, how much energy do you have? How much energy? How can you, are you excited to do new things? Are you excited to even try a recipe, much less start a new career? The energy doesn't support it. But watch what happens. You go up here to courage and hope. This signifies an energetic shift. Now, this courage, I don't mean courage of a particular action. What I associate this courage with actually is the courage to see things a different way. Just open up to the possibility that there might be something else to consider. And then having the hope that your situation can change. This is huge. When people are working with populations like the homeless, for example, maybe war veterans that can get stuck down here because of very real events that happened to them in their lives, they can tell you, they'll spend hours telling you that it was when that person, that family, that community saw hope. That's when they could get to these higher levels. And let's face it, this is what we all want. Everybody in life that I've ever met, ever worked with, ever have been in my classes, we want the same things. We want to love. We want to be loved. We want to be happy. We want to be happy, safe, and comfortable. We all want the same things. And look where those things energetically and emotionally reside. It's above this, right? It's above this. So even this will get people concerned sometimes. What does surrender mean? If somebody, again, is in the middle of a hurricane, it's not going to do them any good to be mad and upset about it. They can grieve what they've lost in a hurricane, for example. But when they surrender to, this is the situation, what am I going to do about it? That's when they can go up here to acceptance, to compassion, to love, to peace. These are very, very beautiful emotions. This is where you want to be as much as you can. Are you here all the time? I know I'm not, but I can tell you that peace is what I am always hoping for. Love and peace. To me, that is just the ultimate. So I hope this is making sense to you, because this is what's going to start us on our path here today. So we talked about that. Now, so we understand a little bit about our emotions and the emotions that other people can be in. Again, rather we're seeing it on the world stage, the political stage, rather it's at your dinner table, right? The emotional composition of chaos, I think, is really important to understand. And it just gives you a fresh perspective. If you all know my work, you know one of the things that I always talk about is that you don't have to agree with someone's actions to still be able to see them as the divine being they are. And I can tell you sometimes that's a little difficult. It's difficult to see yourself as a divine being, especially if you're in those lower energies. But that's where the chaos lives, right? That's where the chaos lives. One of the things my mom used to say was she would get mad about whatever she got mad about, right? And she would say, "I'm so mad I can't think straight." She was right. I don't think she probably knew the neuroscience of it, but she was right. It is hard to think creatively, and it is hard to think in a way that keeps you connected to love and creativity and problem solving when you're stuck down there. So, the second thing that I want to talk about today is, say that you are in a chaotic situation, whether you are in it or you're observing it, you are part of a community that's experienced it. How do you get clarity for yourself? Years ago, I was working for George Mason University, actually, and I was sent to a conference. And I saw a guy that I don't even think is in social media. I don't even think he's like a thing anymore. But at the time, he was very well known. His name was Dr. Robert Allen. And what Dr. Allen did was he wanted to understand what happened from a physiological standpoint to top CEOs when they were making decisions. That really fascinated him. So he started working with these Fortune 500 guys and men and women, people who were making huge decisions, financial decisions, military decisions, so decisions that literally would impact people's lives and deaths, right? Life or death. And what he found was that you have 3 decision-making areas of the body: your head, your heart, and your gut. Now, in conversation, you hear people talk about this all the time. Somebody will say, "I knew in my gut that was the right thing to do." Another friend might say, "My heart says I need to do this." Now, in my family, my dad would always tell me, "Diane, use your head, think it through." What Dr. Allen found was that the strongest energy when people were making these decisions were coming from their heart, not their head, not their gut, their heart. And there's a lot of scientific evidence now that you can Google and find out on this. To me, it's really amazing. One of the things that I remember myself is anytime my head said this is a good decision and my heart kept saying, doggone if it wasn't always my heart that was right. I remember years ago taking a job that on paper was perfect. My heart kept saying no, no, no. And I thought, I was just nervous. It was not a great decision. Just wasn't the best decision for me. So if we know there is an intelligence in your heart, like biologically, we know there are cells in your heart that help with decision making. From a metaphysical perspective, many people, including me, believe this is the part of your body that is connected to your divine intelligence, to that wisdom that is beyond you, that connects us to the all. And now think about it, guys. You don't think anything about picking up your phone and Googling what was that song you liked in 1973. You don't know how that works, but you still do it. This is not that big of a stretch to think that you have a mechanism inside your own body that connects you to an intelligence beyond yours. If your phone has it, I don't know why you wouldn't have it. So how do you connect to that energy in a way that's more conscious? So one of the guys that I love to follow is a scientist named Gregg Braden. We're going to look at a little 4-minute video where he talks about this heart intelligence. Greg is a scientist. He's also a New York Times bestselling author. You might have seen him on Gaia TV. One of the things that I love about him is that he likes to marry science, hard science, with medical research and spiritual understanding. And he is brilliant at finding the thread that connects everything. So this is a 4-minute video. I think you're going to really enjoy it. I know I will. I always love this video. So hang on. Let's see where it is.
1991, scientists made a discovery, headway, that really opened the door to this conversation. They discovered every human heart, 40,000 or so specialized cells configured in a way that creates a neural network in the heart. It's their brain-like cells, but they're not in the brain, they're in the heart. And it's actually called the little brain in the heart. What they found, what the scientists discovered, is that these cells think independently of the cranial brain. They feel and they remember. And what that means is every experience that we have, even this one right now, I'm registering this experience in 2 places. This is a good experience, so it's not a problem. I'm registering in my cranial mind as well as in my heart. But if we were having a trauma, it would still be registered in both places. And if I tried to heal that trauma only through thinking about it or talking about, from my mind, it might feel incomplete. The healing may feel incomplete. And the reason is because I've only addressed what happened in here. I haven't addressed what happened in here. And we know this intuitively. I did an experiment a few years ago. Every culture I went to, and every age group, I asked little kids, I said, where are you sitting right now? Show me where you're sitting. And people say, I'm sitting right here. They say, right here. Or you ask the indigenous people, where do you live? Well, this is my home. And almost instinctively, we know that the heart is the seat of our existence, the seat of our being. You don't see them hitting their head, or their arm or something else. So when we talk about heart intelligence, what we're talking about is the ability for these neurons to communicate with the neurons in a way that is meaningful to those neurons. These neurons are linked to a wisdom, to an intelligence that is right for us. Mine is right for me, yours is right for you. And any question that you ask this intelligence, it will answer you in a way that will serve you in that moment. It'll never tell you to do anything dangerous or anything that would hurt anyone else. I'll give you a perfect example. I was in Australia over 9/11. Couldn't get back into my own country until the flights were flying again. And when they did fly, I was in Sydney, Australia, and there was a Boeing 747, that's a big plane, with fewer than 20 people that were going to come to the US. And there was, at the ticket counter, we were at the gate to board, and the agent said, there's so few people, we're not going to board by boarding rows. You can board this plane if you want to and go to America. And I said, well, you don't sound very encouraging. She says, I don't know what happened in that country. She says, but this plane's going to go there. If you want to go there, I don't know if it's going to happen again. I don't know if it's over, but if you want to get on the plane, get on the plane. And really didn't instill a lot of confidence in me or the other people that were there. I said, hold that thought, just wait a minute. And I stepped around the corner, and there's a technique where you can literally, touch your heart like this. And when you touch your heart, your awareness will always go to the place where you feel the touch. So when you call your attention into your heart center in this way, and you slow your breathing, just a few breaths slower than usual. When you slow your breathing, it tells your body that you are safe. You're in a place that's safe. And when you're safe, when you feel safe, it's a switch. It's like an emotional trigger that frees the rejuvenating and the healing chemistry in the body, because the stress and survival chemistry is not needed if you feel safe. So when you slow your breathing and focus in your heart, that is the doorway, and shamans will do this all the time. Monks, nuns, you see them do this all the time, to that heart intelligence. And I asked my heart, my heart, is this a safe flight for me to take? Because my head, if you ask your head, this is so interesting scientifically, because the brain's a polarity organ, left and right brain. And there's always going to be a right and a wrong, good and a bad, success, failure. And if you ask your brain a question under pressure, your brain will go through the logic and the ego loops that will keep you from making the answer. When you ask your heart, the heart's not a polarity organ. So you consciously free yourself from those loops into what is called heart intelligence. And generally your heart will answer. Your heart knows you very well. It's been with you a long time. Your heart will answer before you even finish the question.
So how fascinating is that? I mean, seriously. So I see there was no video, but you did get the sound. We had it sharing. I tell you what, I will send, I apologize that I didn't see. Put in the, okay. So here's what he said. Sounds like you guys could hear, but you didn't see for some reason. I don't know why that happened, but I will put the link in the notes. How's that? All you do is touch your heart. Think of it this way. When you stub your toe or you hit your knee getting up from your desk, what is the first thing you do? Your hands touch that part of your body that's been hurt. That's because your energy of healing, right, goes to that place. What Greg was talking about is when you are thinking about a situation, there's a polarity going on in your brain. You are discussing right and wrong, what's best, what's not best, all of those things. And I'm not telling you that's not something that's quite beneficial at times. But for clarity that comes from the heart, you want to gently touch your heart, slow your breathing, and ask, what's right for me? The situation he had was, should he get on this plane? Was this the best decision for him? This is where you access that heart wisdom and that heart intelligence. It is already there. By lightly touching your heart, you are directing your focus to that part of you that has access to wisdom beyond that which your head does. So I tell my clients, this is how you Google God. Now, what some people will say is, well, how do I know where that information is coming from? That's a great question. Sometimes your fear can come through pretty strongly. What I always tell my clients and my students is when you are really tapping into that heart-centered intelligence, there's no fear, it's very calm, it's very peaceful, and it also will keep coming to you. Have you ever had those ideas that just kept coming? Not the ones that get you wound up where there's a lot of fear involved. Fear thoughts can do this as well, but that steady nudge, that calm, peaceful nudge, that heart energy is not attached to fear. It is just from my perspective, that is your heart wisdom. So does that make sense? Okay. All right. So I will send you that link, and I apologize. I don't know why that didn't work that well, because that was inconvenient, wasn't it? But hopefully you still got the gist of that. Now, we've talked about emotions, how emotions play into chaos, our personal chaos, our perception of chaos. We've talked about how to access the heart intelligence that's going to be specific to each of us and allows each of us to get the answers for ourselves. Now, in addition to the technique that Greg just talked about, one of the ways that I do this every morning is in journaling. I will literally slow my breathing. I'll imagine I'm breathing love in through the back of my heart and out through the front, in through the back, out through the front. And I will actually, at the top of my page, write, love, what would you most have me know today? And again, love is my word for universe, God of your understanding, spirit, whatever you want to call it. I call that love. And out it comes. I also ask for specific instructions. I just did this the other day on Sunday. What goals do I have to move my business forward this week? How do I serve my students and clients this week? And out came a bullet point list. And I can tell you, it's not like I always like what's on that list, by the way. As much as I believe that your life is the most peaceful, fun, and it's satisfying when you follow guidance, that doesn't mean that I don't go kicking and screaming sometimes. But that absolutely is what I have found to be the best. Oh, great, Stacy. After you have this clarity, on whatever subject you're talking about. And it can be anything. I will do this even with if what I'm going to eat, who I'm going to talk to, what opportunities come up or don't come out, right? That you can use this intelligence for anything. Still, there is always, or often I'll say, a part of you that doesn't want to get on the train there with love, doesn't want to get on the love train, as I would say. This is where I would really encourage you to employ a technique called heart-brain coherence. Now, many of you probably have heard of an organization called the HeartMath Institute. It's absolutely amazing. They are a group of scientists that back in the 90s pioneered the work that Gregg Braden was just talking about, where they were connecting the intelligence of the heart, how it works in conjunction with the brain, and how people can live their lives healthier mentally, physically, spiritually, right? By having their hearts and brains in coherence. Many of you know that I'm on the Awake TV network. HeartMath Institute actually has a channel on there. Fascinating stuff. Let me give you an example, and I'm going to teach you a super quick method that I would encourage you to use every day, whether you are actively experiencing a chaotic situation or not. So think of it this way. We just learned you have cells in your brain that think, you have thinking cells in your heart. That doesn't mean they're thinking the same way. That's why you are often, or I should say at least sometimes, in conflict, right? You're not sure what to do because you think you should do this, but maybe you should do that, and your heart's pulling you one way. You are not in coherence from a HeartMath Institute perspective. So the example that I give includes my dear husband, who is either on here or he will be. He's going to watch the replay. He and I will go to the grocery store together. So we're in the same place, just like my heart and my head is in the same body. We're in the same store. And he's wonderfully helpful. And I will say, please, can you go get paper towels? And can you go get butter or whatever it is we need? I'm a vegetarian, so you pretty much know where I am. I'm over by the carrots, by the avocados. Maybe I stroll over to the bananas, but that's where I am. Even though we are in the same store, and our stores here where I live, it's not like they're super big, by the way. Usually I will get a text sometime during our trip. Where are you? I can't find you. I got the paper towels. I'm in aisle 6. I thought you're going to be in aisle 1. We are in the same place, but we are not working together. We are working separately, right? So it's not until we meet together to finish the task of grocery shopping that there's no chaos anymore, right? So that's just a weird, funny little example, but your heart and your head work the same way. So there's a wonderfully simple technique that I'm going to teach you now that helps you biochemically get your heart and brain into coherence. So what does that mean? It means that it allows you to hear and understand guidance from your heart, and then it helps your brain execute that guidance. You need your brain. I don't want you to only be heart-centered and not work with your ego or the other parts of your body. You're human. We're here to do that. But when your brain your intellect is following through on that heart-centered guidance, that's when everything flows differently. That's where you get above that mark of 200, right? Doesn't mean you might not be a little anxious. You're going to be stretched when that's part of growth, right? You're going to be guided and encouraged from your heart to do things that you probably aren't always familiar with. That's why they feel a little scary sometimes, because they're not right here. Your ego or your intellect, your ego usually wants you to be in a particular place because it knows how to do that. From my perspective, that divine wisdom, think of it. If it's creative, intelligent, and expansive, That's the part of you that is always being invited to expand, to learn new things, to meet new people, to understand new subjects. That's where that heart intelligence is coming from. So how do we get in heart-brain coherence? It's really super easy. All I want you to do, and we're going to do it here together. It's super easy. I want you to sit as comfortably as you can, feet on the floor, if that's possible for you. I want you to put your hand or a couple fingers on your heart. Again, that helps your focus go to that heart center. Now, shut your eyes. I want you to imagine that you can breathe love in through the back of your heart and out through the front and in through the back and out through the front. Imagine you are breathing love in through the back and out through the front. And just lightly touching your heart, I just want you to remember, bring to mind a moment in time where you just felt overwhelming gratitude, compassion, or appreciation. You know what that feels like. Your heart literally opens, it unfolds like a budding flower. You can feel it. Bring that memory back right now. Just feel that heart open. Feel those ripples of gratitude spreading across your chest, up into your head, down into your body. Just revisit that again. Sit in that feeling of deep gratitude. Feel it. Now relax into that even deeper. Now, go ahead and just let your hand fall to your lap. And take a deep breath and open your eyes. So just type in the chat, how did that feel? How did that feel? What's really wonderful about that heart, yeah, it's amazing, about that heart-brain coherence, think of it like this. It brings your heart and brain in line. So, you know, when you have, think of it as an upgrade, right, to your operating system. That's the way I look at it. And what's super interesting about that is if you do that exercise for as little as 3 minutes, just sit in gratitude, deep gratitude, compassion, appreciation, that energy that has your heart open and it flows through you. You sit in that for 3 minutes and it changes you biochemically for up to 6 hours. 6 hours of clarity. Now, not only is that cheaper than going to the local coffee shop to get a jolt of caffeine, which, by the way, I love my coffee, but when it comes to clarity, having energy, and a vitality, this is a fantastic practice. And this is one that if I anticipate, I'll put it that way, if I anticipate being in any kind of situation where there's conflict, and for most of us pre-pandemic, that really could be, a Thanksgiving dinner with a bunch of our relatives. It could be anything, right? It could be anything. It could be going to a physician if you're afraid of a certain diagnosis. That could be something that's causing you a lot of anxiety or conflict. It could be anything. You do this before the meeting, the session, the whatever. And this helps you be so much clearer, focused, and heart directed. This is what I do every time before I speak to a client. This is what I do before I teach a class. This is what I do. This is what I do a couple times a day, morning, noon, and night. What a great practice this is. What a great practice this is. So let me see if you've got any questions about that. Yeah. Feeling that heart opening is just fantastic. It does release tension. I love these comments that are coming through. When you are going to watch the news, I would encourage you to do this practice beforehand, right? This is not about deciding who's right or wrong. This is not what this is about or not at all, actually. This is about you having clarity so that you can come from the most peaceful, compassionate place possible. And why do we want to do that? Because that's where everything changes. My personal opinion is that we are undergoing a huge birthing in this country and in the world. And I can tell you from giving birth twice myself, it's painful. There's a lot of tension around it. There's just a lot of pain. And when you birth a new being into the world, there is a tremendous joy and love and euphoria that comes with that. We are birthing ourselves as new loving individuals at an even higher level. We are birthing new communities. We are birthing a new country. We are birthing a new world. And the calmer, the more peaceful we are in ourselves, the better we will be able to hear from our heart intelligence what is our unique opportunity to serve in this moment. This is all about the unity and the Be Love principles, which if you're part of our community, we're going to study actually next month. This is the light of the all. That same intelligence that is in you, is in me, is in your neighbor, is in your friend. It's in the person that you agree with. It's in the person you don't agree with. That's the energy, that life force that connects us. We are so much more similar than we are dissimilar. And coming from that heart space clarity helps each of us individually know how we can contribute to that beautiful new world we all want. So I hope that makes sense. Right before we do our question and answers, I wanted to share something else with you that I just love. Probably you've heard of John O'Donohue. Probably have heard of the beautiful book of Celtic wisdom. Yeah, beautiful. There was this passage I wanted to share with you. It's called The Soul Adores Unity. And if you want to, go ahead and shut your eyes so that you can just let the truth of this just wash through you, because I think it's beautiful. The soul adores unity. When you decide to practice inner hospitality, the self-torment ceases. The abandoned, neglected, and negative selves come into a seamless unity. The soul is wise and subtle. It recognizes that unity fosters belonging. The soul adores unity. What you separate, the soul joins. As your experience extends and deepens, your memory becomes richer and more complex. Your soul is the priestess of memory, selecting, sifting, and ultimately gathering your vanishing days toward presence. This liturgy of remembrance, literally remembering, is always at work within you. Human solitude is rich and endlessly creative. That part of you that knows the truth is always seeking unity, is always seeking to be part of the whole. And to me, we do that through love, finding this heart-centered clarity for each one of us so that we know what moves us forward. So let me see if you have any questions. I am happy to answer those for you while I'm seeing if that, if we do. I do want to remind you that you will get the recording of this. And I think there's a way that I can actually insert the video into this. So we'll see if we can do that. As I said, next month in our Be Love community, we're going to be exploring the Be Love principles because, hey, it's February, it's Love Month. So, of course, we've got to do that. I also want to tell you that next month we have a guest interview for our members with my mentor, Robert Holden, and it's something he's doing exclusively for us. So I'm super excited about that. Let's see, looks like we got a question before we end here today. Okay, so the question is, how do we love someone who has what we perceive to be hateful actions? And that is a great question. That is a great question. All I can do is tell you the way that I do it. I can love the essence of a person and not understand, quite frankly, or agree with their actions. So you guys hear me talk about my grandson all the time. You know, he's a little kid. He's a toddler still. So he does a lot of things that, you know, I don't necessarily agree with, like, I don't know, running toward the road. That scares me. I don't agree with that. That is not, that's not an action that would necessarily hurt other people except for his family, of course. But I can love him unconditionally and not be excited about his actions. When we have historical figures that create situations that harm others, this is where on that first chart, right, that first chart that I showed you about, David Hawkins' chart, do you see how going above courage and hope puts you into trust and surrender? I can just share my own ideas about this. You will go into your heart and see what your answer is. But for me, I believe that when there are huge situations that occur, it is an opportunity for huge healings. It is an opportunity to shine the light on parts of our society that have operated in the dark, that have not been comfortable for most of us to address. And although I don't think we have to learn through being uncomfortable or frightened or have these events, I don't think we have to learn that way. I do think it creates decision points for us. I do think it creates decision points for us. So as we'll learn next month when we look at the Be Love principles, you can see someone's divine essence and understand they have perhaps the way I look at it, they have a place in the whole and not agree with their actions. And I'm not going to tell you it's super easy, right? I'm not going to tell you it's super easy. But what I can tell you is the more I come from my heart, the easier that is for me to accept. I also know that if I stay stuck in the energy of anger, I don't have access to that heart energy that helps me be part of the solution. Doesn't mean that I can't work for what I want. But from a spiritual and from a metaphysical perspective, I love to remember the words of Mother Teresa. If you remember the real famous story, she was asked if she would attend an anti-war protest. And she said, I will come to a peace march anytime. She wasn't about engaging in what she was against. She wanted her energy to go towards what she wanted. And that's what I would encourage us all to do. Focus on and bring your energies towards what you want to occur. For me, that's peace and a more loving world. And I will trust my heart energy to show me what my part is. And we're all going to have different parts. We're all going to have different parts. So I hope that helped at least. Okay. So let me see. Looks like we've got another. Yeah. Okay. Yep. All right. So I am so appreciative that you guys have all been here. Thank you so much. Today, tomorrow, the day after that, do your very best to live each moment from a foundation of love. Every moment then you can. Use the tools that you've learned here today. I really encourage you to use that heart-brain coherence. Ask your heart what's right for you. I love you lots, and I'll see you next month.